Welcome back to another edition of Things Your Pastor Didn't Tell You this Sunday morning. Have you ever wondered why things like this, that, and that exist? If you are one of those that's wondering, it's probably because you're stuck with half the truth. But that's a whole nother story. Let me move forward. I'm going to start off by telling you where ape people and elephant people came into the world. I'm going to start off by pulling text from the book of Jasher. And before you shoot me, you need to know that the word apocrypha, number one, means forbidden, removed. And number two, Jasher is a part of the apocryphal text that was removed, forbidden from your Bible so you wouldn't get the full picture. A prime example of that is this. See, most of you don't even read it because your pastor told you not to. Well, haven't you ever read the book of Genesis with your pastor and wondered why it starts off halfway through Abraham's life and considers him righteous among his generations, and he's got Lot with him, and you don't even truly know why Lot is with him? Well, the book of Jasher fills all that gap. It talks about his life from childhood all the way up until that point, and boy, oh boy, does it point out his righteousness. For example, did you know that Nimrod persecuted Abraham? And did you know that Nimrod had Abraham thrown into a fire with Lot's dad? And Lot's dad died and burned to death next to him, while Abraham stood in the furnace, stood in the fire before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in righteousness. And this is why when he left there, Nimrod didn't mess with him anymore because he was scared of what he saw. Abraham leaves and he takes Lot under his wing because his dad died next to him in the fire. Anyway, that's just one prime example, but let's move forward. So fast forward. Here's more things that you're not told. The Tower of Babel and Nimrod's story is actually covered in depth, even more, far more than your own Bible in your 66 books talks about it. But then there's this. It talks about the punishment even for the workers during that time rather than just saying they were scattered amongst the nations. And it tells you specifically what he did to them. See, here's what happened to a chunk of those builders when the Tower of Babel was destroyed. The group of people that said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, they became like apes and elephants. You ever wondered why King Kong is even a thing? Well, that's a whole nother story. Think about this. If you have 1/3 of a group of a whole lot of workers turned into things that are like apes and elephants, like you're half human and like an elephant head and like an ape head, and then you're told to be scattered out amongst the nations and you're spread out, imagine being an ape and an elephant head person walking around the earth. It's easy to become something that may be worshipped soon. Like this, and like that. Now you may be asking yourself, but what about Babylon itself? What about its king? And what about things like that are depicted with eagles' heads and things like that? Well, you need to know this. There's the Babylon of Nimrod, but there's also the Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar. And I want to remind you about Nebuchadnezzar and his tie-in to the head like an eagle. And also their depiction of wings like eagle and bodies like oxes and things like that. Once again, here's this. The book of Daniel, where it talks about Nebuchadnezzar and his Babylon, when Nebuchadnezzar was also turned into a beast in the field where he was made to eat grass like an ox, and he was also told his head would have hairs that were grown like eagle's feathers, and it says that his nails like bird's claws. So you have your head like eagle's feathers and the body of an ox. And see, in today's world, the most recent beast in the field that's worshipped by the elites and things like that is exactly what he says he's going to come at the end of time and separate people from. You know, sheep and goats. We're called the sheep. And then you got the goats, led by the goat head king. You see, people have a problem when they see something they don't understand, they go and worship it and make statues of it. Did you know this is a statue of Moses? See, a lot of people are saying, look at his horns. Here's another statue of Moses with horns. And this is a supposed depiction of Moses receiving the 10 Commandments in the glory and coming down and showing the people they can't look at him because of the rays, the horns coming from his head. And see, when people see things they don't understand, they fight, they argue, they throw fits, they worship, they bow down, they freak out, and they make a statue. And I mean, look at this one where it has Moses with glowing horns. Check this one out. Pretty fascinating, with the bull with horns also being created. And then what do you know? Later, you have Baal worship and people sacrificing their children to the god Baal. I'll take a bite of this big banana sandwich, because a lot of you missed the first one that was marked as a beast on his forehead. At the beginning of your Bible, Cain. And when he was marked that way, he says, if someone sees me, they're going to try and kill me. So he was driven from the land too, just like Nebuchadnezzar and Nimrod and the builders that we were just reading about earlier. Now, read this. Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. And Tubal-Cain, his son, was leading him, and it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain, his son, was with him. And while they were walking in the field, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced toward them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal-Cain, his son, was very young. I keep reading. And Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet afar off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them, both of them, to be an animal. So it's really seeming like this whole people being turned into beasts is something that's nothing new under the sun and happening for a very long time. And it's got me thinking, have you guys ever seen the movie Sweet Tooth? In which there's a big pandemic. And in that pandemic, the people were dying left and right. And also there was mutations taking place in all the births that happened after that point. And the children were born with genetic makeups like an animal on their heads and parts of their bodies as well. Pretty wild. And especially when you look at how it ends, the fact that all the human race that's not marked as a beast die, and the ones that are left on the earth at that point are going to be the ones with the mutations to inherit the earth. Pretty twisted. All I can say is stay away from